With a universe as massive as Star Wars, it's only natural that it'd be filled to the brim with a plethora of different alien species. Some of these species, however, were rather terrifying, and if you were to accidentally stumble upon their planet, you'd either die of a heart attack or be savagely killed. Throughout this video, we'll be counting down 5 of the most terrifying species to be seen throughout the Star Wars universe. Keep in mind, this video will be highlighting creatures that were at least semi-sentient and were known to have some form of self-awareness. This video will also be followed by 5 of the creepiest non-sentient creatures in the near future, and I may also do a part 2, so don't forget to leave me your suggestions for the next video. The Bilar, hands down one of the most terrifying races within the Star Wars universe. Not only were they one of the only races to operate as a hive mind of sorts, but aesthetically speaking, the Bilar were hairless, pink-skinned bears with almost soulless black eyes. Although an individual Bilar was only classified as a semi-sentient being, when they merge into groups of at least 4, the Bilar would pull together all their resources and merge as a single consciousness, with a single identity, thus becoming a completely sentient being. Native to the jungle planet of Mima 2, the Bilars had limited contact with the rest of the galaxy. They rarely ever left their planet, however when they did, they weren't used to the societal and cultural norms of the wider galaxy and had trouble fitting in. In saying this, few Bilar groups were able to fit in and ventured into the greater galaxy to work occupations that made use of their unique ability to work together seamlessly. Natives of the planet GLOTTALPHIBS were an ambiguous sentient reptile species that, although could survive on land, much preferred the water. Many other sentient races throughout the galaxy noted that the GLOTTALPHIBS were strongly reminiscent of dragons, as not only did they have the physical attributes possessed by dragons, but they also could breathe fire in large enough quantities to kill enemies. In addition to their fire-breathing capabilities, fighting a GLOTTALPHIB became even harder as their skin was resistant to blaster shots and the only way to kill one was to shoot them through an open mouth, which as you can imagine would be quite challenging, especially when there's fire involved. As the name suggests, bouncers love to bounce and use that as their mode of transportation throughout the vast mountains of their planet Ruusan. With heads shaped like medicine balls, multiple tentacles hanging off them, and a slimy green skin, bouncers like the Bilar were one of the most odd and creepy races of the Star Wars universe. Although relatively peaceful, their tranquility didn't take away from their terrifyingly creepy aesthetics and surprising intelligence. Bouncers were an extremely telepathic race and were connected to the Force. They had the ability to foresee the future, sense emotions, and the smartest bouncers were even able to telepathically communicate with individuals, projecting thoughts into their minds. Everyone who's played the original Star Wars Battlefront 2 will know what I'm talking about when I say Wampas were one of the scariest species throughout the entire Star Wars franchise. Whilst playing Hunt mode on Hoth, these behemoths could take hundreds of blaster shots and still charge at you with terrifying speed, and this was only in the game. In the wider Star Wars universe, however, it was a whole different ballgame. The Wampas would often form hunting groups and with their snow-white fur would blend in with Hoth's climate, thus making them deadly whilst looking for prey. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, Wampas prefer the taste of yet another native of Hoth, the Tauntaun. In saying this, however, the 3-meter tall species would not hesitate to attack anyone they cross paths with, and unfortunately for the Rebel Alliance, this included them. The DROCH are probably one of the most biologically complex beings within Star Wars. When first born, these creatures possess no self-awareness whatsoever and just follow what their biology tells them to do, which is unfortunately for their victims, burrowing under their skin and draining their life force. With each host they kill, the DROCH grow stronger and more intelligent until they are able to achieve true sentience. With that said, however, DROCH were rarely ever able to achieve this level of self-awareness as many of them simply died before reaching this stage. One DROCH called Zim, however, who did manage to reach this stage, grew to the size of the average human and was estimated to be 250 years old before his death. He died trying to use his newfound sentience to create a plague full of younger DROCHs that he intended to devastate the galaxy with and create an eternal feeding ground for himself. Although I'm glad this grand plan didn't play out, in my opinion the scumbags on Umbara could have still used a plague or two.